Today's video is about how to get how much is in a real sample. And so we're going to take an example that looks very much like a lot of the ones that we would do in the lab. So let's assume that we want to know how much caffeine is in a pill. And so we took a pill and we weighed it. And it weighed massed at 1.205 grams. So you did that in the lab. But now, and you don't take the whole pill, you probably ground it up. That was probably the instructions. And the instructions said take 50 milligrams of the pill and dissolve it in 10 mils of buffer. So you did that in the lab. And then let's just pretend we're doing UV vis. The experiment, the actual technique we're doing here really doesn't matter. But we're going to do UV vis and we're going to take the absorbance. And let's say that we took the absorbance of our unknown, right, this solution that we made right there, and we got an absorbance of 1.45. Well, before you did all this, right, what you often do in the lab, right, is make some sort of calibration curve. So let's assume we've done that. We've made a calibration curve, and we're going to assume down here that the concentration's in micromolar, and we looked at the absorbance. And then if we, got some sort of line plot there. So now what we need to figure out is what concentration would 1.45 get us. So let's solve. We have to do this, right? And let's assume that from that graph we fit it, and we got a line that's like this: 0.0028x plus 0.018. So that's the equation of the line, right, from your calibration curve. So again, that was all be experimentally determined. So now that you have an absorbance value, right, you can plug that into your equation, and most students can do this part. 0.028x plus 0.018, and if we solve that for x, we're going to come up with 511.4 micromolar. And it's micromolar because that's the concentration units that I did it in for the graph. Okay, so most students can get here. But the question isn't what was the concentration of the solution you made. That's not the question. The question is how much is in the pill that you originally were given. So let's go ahead and go after that by looking at and figuring out the moles that are in our sample. Right, so we've only taken a small sample. So let's go ahead and figure out the moles, right? So, right, to do that, you say, oh, well, I have 511.4 times 10 to the minus 6. I'm going to just, like I normally do, go back to standard mole per liter molar units, right? And in that was in 10 mils, right? So that was in a 10 milliliter sample. So if I do that, I can figure out the number of moles, and if I've done my math correctly, that should give us 5.11 times 10 to the minus 6 moles. Okay, so that's the number of moles. I'm still not to grams, but I can get there, right? Now it's pretty easy. You've done a lot of these calculations in the lab. If I know moles, I can just multiply by the molecular weight. And so I looked up the molecular weight. I know it's caffeine. 194.19, yeah, I was right, grams per mole. So you've looked up that, and now we can get back to grams. And so if we do that out, we end up getting 9.93 times 10 to the minus 4 grams, or I'm going to write it in milligrams. Milligrams are in the 10 to the minus 3. So I'm going to write it in milligrams because I think it's easier. So what is this number? This number, the 0.993 milligrams, that was how much was in 50 milligrams of the pill, right? So that tells you most of the pill was not caffeine, right? It might have been a caffeine pill, but most of it wasn't caffeine. Only about 1 milligram of the 50 milligrams was actually caffeine. And so how do I get back to the real pill? Well, this is how much is in 50 milligrams, right? So now I can just do a ratio. Right, I have 50 milligrams of caffeine in 50 milligrams of the pill equals X milligrams of caffeine. So that's my unknown, and I'm going to go ahead and convert this pill to milligrams. So 1,205 milligrams in the pill. And if I solve for that, let me keep it on the board. X in this case ends up being 23.9 milligrams. And so that's the number That's the final number. How much caffeine was in the pill? From our calculations and our measurement, it's 23.9 milligrams. But I hope you see what I did was I found out the concentration in the sample that we used. Then I went to moles and then grams in the sample that we used. And then I looked at how much of the sample I had used and did a ratio. So there's many types of these things in the lab reports. They might all be exactly the same, but the strategy is going to be the same. Look at the sample that you made, get the concentration, go back to moles or grams if that's the question, then get back to the whole pill from there.